Ready?
Yep.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I'm Pete Van Leer, Chair Pro Tem of the Rules Committee, the Police Commission and Rules Committee. So that twice. Welcome.
Do you have the volume on, Pete? I
Can't. Oh, no, I don't. Well, it's not working. That's why.
Mine's also not working.
Oh,
All of you
well,
are.
that's interesting. They should be working.
Is there a shared draft that we can look at as we go along on
I sent it out the other day.
but it like that he's working on?
It's the only
It's the same
draft.
one?
It's the same draft. It's the
Oh,
draft that day. I can share it again. I can email it again because I emailed it. Did you get that email?
I think what Terry's saying that she'd like to be able to see the changes happening in real time. So we could make a SharePoint.
It is a SharePoint.
Oh, it is SharePoint?
Is
Oh,
Send
it's
it
just a
to
Word
you.
doc.
Is it?
But is it, I thought, I looked at it, it's only, oh, this is a different one. There were two things that you sent, right? You sent
I
some-
sent one straight from SharePoint and I sent
Oh.
one with a link. In the email.
The lemon bar is,
Yeah, really good.
This includes all of our changes so far?
No, it's just like took as many as I could and as many as I read, to be honest. And yeah, so we can go through it. Yeah. No luck.
So far, no luck.
So it doesn't include my changes at all?
It includes some of them, yes. I tried to include as many as I could, and we can discuss the ones that are not there.
It's quite possible. Somewhere there's a link in the chain that is not.
Is that turned on? Yeah, it looks like it is.
It is.
Let's see if there's any-
Ah, there it is.
You can, I
Got
think
it?
Yeah, must have just been a loose connection
There you go.
somewhere.
you wanna say that.
Okay.
Actually, we will. Okay.
Okay, welcome to the Cleveland Police Commission, Community Police Commission's Rules Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 13th. It's 3:09, and we are officially calling this meeting to order. Members, commissioners, Chandra Benito,
present.
Terry Wong,
Present.
and then Pete Van Leer, and Charles Donaldson is on leave. I'd like to start with an agenda review. I would like to make a motion to flip the old business to do 1.4.4 first and then 1.4.5. 1.4.4 change is, there's a change I'd like to suggest there, and it's pretty short, so that's my motion.
I'll second.
Tell us what the, oh, go ahead.
It's just the agenda right now. So, yes, so,
Is it, which, is it a suggestion you sent or what is this?
no, it has not been sent. But this is the agenda review, so we're just gonna
Okay, I
approve
have-
that change
Alright.
of the agenda. So we've got, roll call vote. Chandra,
Aye.
Terry,
I,
and I say aye. So that's gonna be, just gonna switch those two items. And we'll go,
I have
Anything
two
else?
questions.
okay,
So has Martin provided a legal analysis? Because I have some concerns about how the vote has happened last time. My understanding from Robert's rules is that there may be an issue of privilege, and the motion to remove me cannot have been put on the floor when there was pending business. So I was correct to assume that there would have been a need to go through the meeting first.
do you have an agenda item that you want to add something to the
So
agenda?
I just want to add, and I want to add an agenda item because what are we doing? Are we voting for chair today? What is the
It's
intention?
not on the agenda, no, so
So why are we waiting to vote for a chair?
until we have a more full committee.
So you sought to remove me as chair without a full committee, but you want to vote for a chair,
If you'd like to
presumably
vote for a
when,
chair, I don't have a problem with it.
when
Would
Mr.
you like to
Donaldson
make that-
comes? No, I'm
would you
just asking, I'm not making a motion, I'm just asking what the rationale is. So if I don't want to
think we
make a.
explained our rationale pretty clearly the other day. So if
No.
you'd like to make a motion for an agenda item, please do.
I don't think that we should vote for a chair until I'm just making the note that
Okay.
if you had intended, I didn't know what the rush was except for taking, based on your belief of my out at that time. So I would like also, if we can put into new business, a discussion of what you as Chair Pro Tem have planned for the next 3 months, or, I mean, we're not going to be filled until Mr. Donaldson comes back. What is the plan for the next 3 months of rules or whatever?
Sure.
I think we should discuss that. Okay,
Are you making a motion?
just
Yeah,
to add
that's
that
the
item.
agenda?
Yes.
I'll second.
Sure. All in favor?
I
Okay. Any other agenda items you want to add or change?
have, sorry, I just when I thought, is there a reason why, my concern is always, and I discussed before, that 1.44 and 1.45 go together because it's co-chairs and committee chairs. And we've never, because of the constant refinement of 1.44, we've never really got into 1.45 until last meeting. I just want to make sure that we're balancing out, that whatever we do, standards that we have for 1.44 for the co-chairs we have for the committee chairs. But you can see my concern now.
Do you have
that
an
we're
agenda thing that you want to do?
Can
or-
we, I would like to vote on this together, unless, but I don't know exactly, that was the intent. I never, when Mr. Goodrich asked me first to open the rules, I never wanted isolated rules to be edited for obvious reasons that it may imbalance our system. And we have Robert's rules there too, to address all our issues. So if it's possible, unless it's a very small change that you're making, because that's why I asked about the change that you intend to make with 1.44, it would be great if we can pass them as a group.
I'd prefer to keep it this way, and I think we can work back if we need to, keep them both in mind. We have a draft that we've had of 1.4.5, and if there's an issue, we can balance it, I think. So I'd like to keep them separate.
So are we planning to pass 1.45 today?
We'll see. I would love to. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then we won't get to the other stuff though without,
well, we'll see. Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I think that the old business, the rules are most important, but if we have time, we can discuss other things.
Okay.
So, all right. So, we'll move forward to public comment. Chris Martin, are you here to comment? Or?
That's not
Your name
personal.
is Chris? What's your
No,
name?
Gabe.
Gabe, I'm sorry. There was this other guy the other night, just like,
Yeah, I guess I did have
Wanna-
well,
Put a mic.
Oh, sure.
There you go. Or you could set it one of the mics there, that's fine, or you could use this one.
Are we at, there's usually a public comment period at the end.
we can, if there's time allowing, we can always do that, but I'm basing it on our regular meetings and, yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here mainly to attend. I just like,
And give lemon bars.
yeah, and get
Yeah,
other parts
thanks.
also.
Yeah,
later.
thank you. They're
Yeah.
delicious.
It's always kind of fun to bring baked goods into a situation. I guess if my public comment would be, I didn't attend the removal of Michelle Wang as chair, but I did watch. And I think I've been thinking a lot about what it means to have rigor and how that must come off. And but I've been thinking about what rigor is, and it seems as if rigor is proven dedication. Sometimes it looks a little line by line-ish, and I think it can sometimes be kind of mistranslated as antagonism. And I just feel that I just know for myself when I've been on panels or been on committees, it always benefits me to have somebody that's willing to be really pointed. And I think I'd like to just put that into the space. The loss of removing somebody when it seems to be interpersonal communication. And I was talking to my neighbors about this because I just talk to them all the time. They're really cool. So and they're all a bit older than me, and they've kind of been around. And I mentioned about it's kind of really tense in those meetings sometimes. And I'm reminded when I talk to them because they are folks that get stopped. They are folks that have dealt with loss because of, and loss isn't just death. Loss is having someone removed from their life because they're in prison. I mean, there's all sorts of loss that folks end up having to endure. And each one of you you didn't know, it's almost like some weird reality show. You didn't know who you're going to be with. And I think if I had an ask, it would be, how is it that maybe there are ways within interpersonal connections to figure out more succinct ways to communicate on all parties. Instead of kind of like saying, like, hey, this is too much, if there are other pathways to do that. Just in slowing down conversation, pausing more, listening differently. Because in the end, the effects aren't really about this room at all, obviously. And what I have heard from each of the people on the commission is that people really do care, and people are interested in equity and fairness. And I think that has to pertain to the room as well, though. And it does seem a bit unjust, the way that it was handled, because it was on something interpersonal, which to me that is like, there are just so many ways and ins to be able to figure out more effective communication before it gets to such a public platform that just kind of halts. It halts sort of the progress and the public's trust. I think especially in a place like Cleveland, it's really hard. I think that is the capital. Trust is the capital at play, and by kind of taking it to that extreme and making it about oneself, I think that one loses the capital that was gained. And I think that's the only comment I have.
Great, thank you, Dave. Okay, I'm gonna move on to old business.
Get a mic.
Old business.
Is this yours?
So,
Whose is this?
Jace,
Is this yours?
no, it's not mine, is it?
It was,
Is yours?
Gabe put it there for me, yes.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
think I just,
Everything
I
that's
was using it as a prop, I think.
Yeah.
Do we have a version for 1.44?
I was just gonna ask,
Yeah.
do we have a version of 1.4.4? Digitally would
The
be
full
fine.
version?
Well, the current version that we voted on last time,
Yeah.
It's not been updated, I think, on the.
No, it hasn't, because I just haven't had the time since I don't have my.
As it stands on the floor, if you look up 1.4 in your email, but if we can get that on a SharePoint,
I will, of 1.4.4?
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
Make
that would
one-
be helpful.
other small suggestions that can help us move along.
Sure.
Do we feel okay if we vote line by line just to keep going? But I know you have only one.
We can if we need to, yeah, I mean,
That
if
might
that
be-
works well, we can.
Are you reopening the entire 1.4.4?
No, just, I have the
or
one
very narrow?
suggestion, and I would like to focus on that, but,
Because we already did 1.4.4, so if you reopen it line by line, you'll be here for the whole.
no, we're
thing.
not gonna,
If
we're
it's-
not gonna go line by line in 1.4.4. We're gonna make this one suggestion, and then we're gonna move on to.
It's in, if you look up 1.4 as it stands, it's
Yeah.
from 12.4 is there.
It's in our
On the
email.
floor. It's in our email from Jason. If you want 1.4 and on floor, you should find it, at least in my, I know it's hard to find things with the,
Stand up.
12.4.
oh, wait, that's not it. That's not the
No,
one that was
that's not,
voted
it
on.
says as passed, there's one that's as passed,
All
so
right.
let me just,
So it would have been,
Yeah.
not sure if that's enough. As passed.
here it is, it's as passed, so there's one from 12/12/2023, and it's a
Okay, there it is, yeah.
PDF file, so I'll print that.
Sorry, we
Just
should
look
have
at
thought that before, I wasn't,
All right.
So I'll print everybody copies right now, just,
Could you tell us where, so we can start
yeah,
reading?
so the language is around the, co-chair's roles.
Mhm.
And what I'd like to propose is that when membership of the committee falls below a quorum due to one or more vacancies, not absences in parentheses, co-chairs have a duty to temporarily fill the vacancy in order to move forward the business of the commission. While filling a temporary vacancy, co-chairs will count toward a quorum and have voting rights on the committee. This duty remains in effect until the vacant position is filled according to the rules for seating committee members. So I can email that out to y'all.
Jason sent it to all of us.
Yeah, all right. I had adjusted a little bit.
Oh.
So let me email it back out. All right, let's see. Just want, there's some clarifying language, I think that helps.
and did you say this injects into duties and responsibilities of the co-chair as a new bullet point? Was that,
Yeah. That would make sense. Sure, yeah.
They brought lemon bars and tea.
There's food.
They brought lemon bars and tea. They're really good.
Here's some 144s.
So yeah, this revision would just go under the duties and responsibilities as a bullet point, I think, unless we want to put it as a separate paragraph. I think,
I,
or it could go under in relation to the coaches on following rules, but that's.
okay. I think that maybe a small reference to this, but since it's contingent and there's specific issues I have with this, it's contingent on the committee seating rules. I would just say that they have, just refer to that rule and put this in the committee, in the committee thing, and we can edit it there. Because I have some concern, just like maybe things that we haven't thought about. We haven't determined, right, I think obviously we want people that not, like commissioners that are not co-chairs to go into the committee, get a chance to be in the committee first. So does this suggest that immediately upon an absence, the co-chair can go in? The reason why I want to balance out all of these committee kind of seating is that we can see the trouble is that if people can leave and go at will, we're not trying to limit anybody's freedom, that could be used in a way to steer particular votes or steer the work or interrupt the work. So what I propose in the 1.45 is that we need to be able to, like, I'm not trying to keep you, from leaving accountability, but it would have made it such that today we wouldn't have had a meeting. So just situations like that. Can I propose, if you want to keep it here, can I propose like a stepwise thing? Because there's a few things that are not listed here in stepwise. Or we can just put that the co-chairs have a duty as ex officio members to come in according to the rule, according to the selection process set out in 1.45. We could say something like that. And then put this in 1.45.
I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on
What's wrong with
language-
this?
Yeah. what language
So,
would
okay,
be better.
so when a membership follows bill quorum, it's not quorum, is it quorum or is the minimum the minimum number?
It's probably the
three?
minimum number.
So we should probably say that when the membership of a committee falls below the minimum number, which is 3, right?
Mhm.
Or is when it falls 4, what do we do? Do we do anything in that case?
So,
I think we can leave it at that
I
point.
think the minimum number, as long as you have 3,
Mhm. But 4 opens it up, right? So
well, we can,
sorry, 4 opened it up, what?
4 should open up 1 spot, but
Yeah.
there's not a it's not a quorum
Yeah,
requirement.
it's
Like,
not,
yeah,
you
we
can
need
still
3.
meet. You need 3.
You don't need the co-chair unless you,
Oh, below
operationally, you
3.
can't operate
So let's be
unless
more
you go
specific.
below 3. So you're right, saying 3 would be more specific. So
When a
when a
membership of a
committee falls
committee
below
falls
3.
below 3 due to 1 or more
Well, you-
resignations and vacancies, or,
so
yeah,
due to vacant, it doesn't have,
due to vacancies.
so yeah, you don't have to say a little more. I added that, but you're right, that doesn't need to be there.
Okay, so with the absences, I have the issue is that when do we determine if repeated absence, are we gonna talk about that, repeated absence
That's later, yeah.
that's later,
Mhm.
not absences, okay,
It's not absent.
It's not absent, because if you have an absence,
right,
you've got,
a temporary, yeah.
if you have 3 people who are on a committee
Mhm.
and 1 is absent, you still have a quorum with 2 and you can meet. And then if you get down to 1, then
Right.
it doesn't really make sense, I don't think, so absence doesn't apply. It's
Do we
more
wanna put
vacancies.
resignations rather than vacancies?
Is a resignation not a
Well,
vacancy?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
they
might
have to,
also
like,
have
leave it.
vacancies if someone's term is up and they haven't seated the new commissioner.
Or they're on leave, is
Yeah.
that a vacancy?
Yeah.
They're all, I think
I don't
they're all
know.
vacancies. We can be more specific if you want.
Because if, say one of us is missing from here, but Charles is on leave right now, you choose, you can still if this is a 3-person committee and Charles is on leave, you two can still meet. Because the quorum for 3 is
I
2.
don't know.
Yeah, so that's why you need, that's why you probably say
Temporarily not on
resignations,
committee.
like official, temporarily. I think it's just the temporariness, the kind of going back.
So what are we saying, resignations, vacancies, or members on leave, or just
I think just,
resignations, vacancies?
well, what do we do when someone is on leave?
Yeah,
So when they're on leave, they're still,
A
they
member of the
still
committee.
count. So the committee still has that member as official. They're just an excused absence during that time. So to your point, Commissioner, this is why you can have the accountability meeting this evening, because even though people may be absent, that position is still there. So you calculate a quorum based on the number of official
Official,
appointments that are
yeah.
active on that committee, right?
So I think you should
Okay.
say resignations,
Yeah.
because,
So in this instance, I think the number works best because you say when a committee falls below 3 in its
when membership of.
in its
Three
membership. So you have to say when
Yeah.
committee membership falls below 3.
The thing I
That's
just sent out says that.
okay. Yeah.
So I added I revised what you
That's
had
good.
sent out.
Did you send that to me?
Yes.
Okay.
can we put this in a little SharePoint if we see it edited? Would that be okay? Because there seems to be,
Sure, yeah, that's what I
I mean, the reason,
Give me a
go
minute.
ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest that we don't just put it to resignation, because there might be vacancies if someone leaves the commission, like they're not resigning from just the committee, or if somebody's appointment is over and then that committee hasn't been restaffed
So they
yet.
say resignation and,
I would just say vacancies. I feel like
Say,
it covers all
you
of it.
can say vacancies and you say that people, and just mention that people who are on leave are not vacant. That doesn't make it vacant just because somebody is on leave.
right. My concern is, we still haven't, because, and it wasn't because I was trying to keep anybody from leaving or going. Under Robert's rules, resignations have to be accepted, just like appointments have to be done. So it's just to keep people from fluxing between those things. So we can define vacancies, not absences or leaves of absences, you can put that, or on leave.
Sorry, I'm trying to create the
Okay,
link, the SharePoint, so give me a minute.
Why can't you guys just move the names like Jason just suggested?
You could sit at the table because you're a member of the commission. So come on, get in the conversation.
With this chart? Sure.
Ryan, do you want to see this too? I'll say sure.
I was being lazy.
Okay, I just sent it out. So you shall be able to go in there and review. It comes from SharePoint, not from me, so, but I can do it in email too if you want,
okay,
just to make sure.
I got it.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all get it?
I'm not good on, I'm listening.
Okay. All right, so,
The membership committee falls below the minimum of 3 commissioners.
due to resignations or vacancies is what I'm hearing, but I'm not sure that's. Yeah, that's good. Commissioners.
Not vacancies, not absences or leaves of due, or leaves,
Absence or leaves.
yeah. Co-chairs have the duty to temporarily fill
The
said,
position or.
Yeah.
Fill the position is.
fill the positions, the vacant positions, in order to move forward the business of the commission, of the committee and commission. So I have a comment after that. Okay.
Okay. Are you
Um,
seeing my changes?
I've seen your changes. So the issue now is how many co-chairs have to do that? Do they both have, if there's 2 vacancies, do they both have to come in? Or is it just enough to meet the quorum, and how do they do it? A coin toss as to who goes in or who's interested,
I would say whoever has the availability, like what is their,
Yeah.
do they have
When it's
other,
meeting.
yeah, like,
Yeah, I don't think we need to
Well, I mean, the point,
legislate it to that level of detail. I
so
think we can trust that the co-chairs can work that out between themselves.
I respectfully disagree, because it's possible, like you and John can work out, but it could be a different set of co-chairs at some point. and there could be different business at certain points in the commission that could be very vital. So we are, I mean, let's just face it, that we are, caught in a lot of interpersonal kind of issues. I just want to balance out the system. If there's a coin toss, be fine with me, or interest.
I guess my concern with that is that what if, so for example, budget and grants has, well, I guess that's not a good example with Sharina and John, but let's say that you have a vacancy on budget and grants and one of the co-chairs served on budget and grants prior and the other one didn't. It would make more sense to have the person fill in who previously served on that committee because they have greater knowledge of what's happening in the work. And so to force it to be a coin toss or what if one of the co-chairs has a standing meeting during the same time as that committee, and so then they can't make that meeting? I don't think it makes sense to prescribe it like that.
I think it should be based on the co-chair's workload. So like, let's say if, John is already filling in on a committee.
Yeah.
John is already filling in on a committee, but then there's an opening in another one, then if we do a coin toss and it says, he must go, fill in again. I mean, is that really fair? I think it should be just like a balance.
I think it could be either of those things, like the co-chairs would have to decide.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be easier if it's worked out, but again, I'm preparing for the potential worst case scenario that, you could have two co-chairs that vastly differ in opinion about certain issues that the committee can do. So that could really re-steer the committee. So I'm fine for leaving it. We can just try right now and see how it goes, and we can always adapt this rule. What does temporarily fill mean though? Because what I'm worried about is that, committees do have a lot of work and certain ones have a lot of very, thankless work in some ways. Does them filling it?
It's defined.
No, it's
Yeah.
defined
At the
in here. It says this duty remains in effect until the vacant position is filled according to the rules for the seating.
Yes, I haven't finished.
Okay.
So doesn't that disincentivize anybody from volunteering since the committee is
No.
moving forward?
Because our rules say that if nobody volunteers, then the co-chair selects somebody to serve on that committee.
But I think it should be the committee chair has probably some input on that because
Okay, well, either way, then it would be, however that gets decided, then then they would stop serving temporarily once that seat is filled by our process, which will either be co-chairs or the chair of the committee. So either way, the point still stands.
temporary vacancy will count towards a quorum and have voting rights on the committee. Okay.
And you can clarify by saying co-chair or co-chair. So the question of do two go, the answer is no, it doesn't make sense. You're only trying to get to that minimum number of operating again. So sending two would be redundancy, more time than necessary.
Unless,
So in the sentence, it says co-chair, so you could say co-chair or chairs have, or, however you want to word that. A co-chair or co-chairs have the duty to temporarily fill the vacancy. So
They can be
Sure.
filled by
I think Commissioner Wong made that point that that is it one or two co-chairs, and it's not defined.
Yeah, Robert,
Yeah.
by commissioner according to, Robert's rules kind of solve this because the chair, I guess, can serve, in the ex officio full capacity on the committees. This duty remains in effect until the vacant positions are filled, is filled.
Yeah,
I know,
just
I was like, that's why,
I think
by-
are filled.
but we're only filling one, right?
But what if there are two? I mean,
There
what if
might
there
be
are
two
two?
Okay.
I'm just trying to
Okay,
leave that eventuality. I mean, maybe we don't
So
have to
by-
answer to that, but right now, it's just like.
by commissioners then.
If you get down to only one interested member in a committee, you have to really talk about maybe folding that committee into another committee or something, because then
By
then it's a
commissioners
problem that the committee just isn't
according
getting the
to the-
interest.
Well, this isn't necessarily about interest. It's about what if like two people all of a sudden leave the commission or they're.
Sure. But it could also be interest.
could
It
happen.
could be, it could be of just people deciding this work isn't for me, or I don't like this
Or the
committee,
leave of absences,
you
that
know,
could be
or leave it, right?
an
So-
emergency, family emergency.
Right. So I think right now the committee that's most questionable for its existence is people have continuously resigned and left outreach. And there have been several times where it has gone to the point of just not having enough interest to fill those seats. So in that instance, you have to ask yourself, do the co-chairs fill this forever, or do we fold that work into
Into
another
another.
committee, right? So that's a different question. But but I can conceivably see if you get down to one, you have bigger problems.
Coaches will count have a this hearing until the vacant positions are filled by by other commissioners, by commissioners. Other commissioners, does that make sense? Other commissioners. According to the rules for setting what seating committee members laid out in 1.45, is that when we're gonna leave that out? Should we, or just leave it open?
It will be in 1.45, I assume.
Yeah.
You can say 1.4.
True. The rules for seating laid out, outlined. Yeah.
So should we read it again?
Mm-hmm.
When membership of the committee falls below the minimum number of 3 commissioners due to resignations or vacancies, parentheses, not meeting absences or leaves of absence, a co-chair or the co-chairs have the duty to temporarily fill the vacant position or positions in order to move forward the business of the commission. While filling a temporary vacancy, co-chairs will count toward a quorum and have voting rights on the committee. This duty remains in effect until the vacant positions are filled by other commissioners according to the rules for seating committee members outlined in bylaw 1.4.5.
Okay, one thing that I saw, and it's good that we read this, is it only standing committees we do this for, ad hoc committees, everything? Do we need to specify in the membership of a committee?
If it's an official committee,
It's a committee.
it's a committee until you guys dissolve it, so
we say
it
stand-
would apply to any committee.
I would say.
Or even ad hoc.
Yeah.
So ad hoc.
Yeah, ad hocs
okay.
are important too. If you
Uh-huh.
establish an ad hoc and you suddenly can't function because you lost
We
somebody.
say, we can put just the word any in there, any committee,
Yeah.
just to make sure that's clear.
Okay. Let's read it one last time, I think. Any comments?
When membership of any committee falls below the minimum number of 3 commissioners due to resignations or vacancies, parentheses, not meeting absences or leaves of absence, a co-chair or the co-chairs have the duty to temporarily fill the vacant positions in order to move forward the business of the commission. While filling a temporary vacancy, co-chairs will count toward a quorum and have voting rights on the committee. This duty remains in effect until the vacant positions are filled by other commissioners according to the rules for seating committee members outlined in bylaw 1.4.5.
I just changed it because when you read it, it's just like, you read it like a verb.
I'll have to work on that.
Doesn't it sound like?
So now it says not absences from meetings or leaves of absence.
Not due, wait, so 3 years due to,
Singular or some, whatever, yeah,
okay, how about that?
it's not due. Any other changes we want to recommend?
Okay, so then what if we had one other scenario, right? What happens if everybody leaves and then it's only the 2 of them? Then what happens to that committee then?
That's not a quorum, and that would have to be serious. And that might be something we want to talk about in what are criteria for dissolving a committee. That is clear that there's not enough interest unless there's some weird situation where all 3 or 4 committee members all of a sudden leave the commission or resign the committee at the same time. That clearly, as you said, is indicator of some other conversation that needs to happen.
This would never apply to that scenario, because even if they both went down, it's
There would
still
be
not a
no-
committee, so.
There'd be no committee.
Well, but I guess, and we have to maintain the standing committees at minimum. We can't dissolve those, right?
Unless well, the ones that aren't in
In
the charter, right? I mean,
Are there-
is there
no, I
They're
don't
not
think they're
chartered,
They're
we
not chartered, but
agreed
there's
about
like
standing.
Yeah.
clearly things that we need to do.
Out-
If we were
Right.
gonna,
Bylaws are
if we
responsible.
were
You can't really
yeah, if we
do
were
the
gonna,
work without certain committees.
if we were gonna adjust outreach, for example, then we would have to go back and change 1.4.5 because it says at minimum we'll have these standing committees, so that would
Yeah,
require a change of rules anyway.
and we also have to really address like how do we
Yeah.
do that community outreach if we don't have an outreach committee
Yeah.
that's functioning, so.
Yeah, but this is not, I mean, this is historically, the training was under accountability, right? So what was the thought process of separating those 2, for example? And we've talked about separating budgets and grants too, because it's a lot of work
That's a conversation for the commission,
Yeah.
right? If we
Yeah.
want to-
So I'm just saying, it's not impossible that this could happen, that we
Right.
reorient all these standing committees. Okay, do we have any other thoughts on anything? Nice.
I'll make a motion
Let's
to,
wait till she finishes.
I just want to read again, for the business of the commission. Is there something that says that they have to leave? Is that clear from this?
Yeah, it says the
Okay.
duty remains in effect until the vacant positions are filled. I think that's pretty clear.
Okay, hopefully.
We
Maybe
could
they
add,
wanna
they may not
stay.
remain, I mean, just like.
Or if there was just an empty position, are they allowed to stay if they want to stay? If
No,
there
it's
was
only
no-
when they drop below the minimum number,
Right.
so you can't count as the fourth, you can only count as the third ever.
Yeah.
So you could never be the fourth person on a committee,
Mhm.
so.
I know, but we want our committees to be broad as possible, so we get the broadest, and we get even the workload, so that's, I mean, I think in Robert's rules, they're just allowed to serve. Is there a possibility that,
It cannot, because we removed that from our.
I know, but I'm just saying, is that open
language.
for discussion? What if
Well,
Ms. Zaya, for example,
problem-
wanted to be on outreach?
The problem we came up with that is our number. So we have 5 people able to seat a committee.
Mhm.
If you add 2 co-chairs, that's the whole commission at that point. So if they all voted affirmatively for something, they actually moved something forward. That's a majority vote of the commission. That's why it didn't work mathematically for us to have a committee of 5 people, allow co-chairs to add 2 votes to that. Because now if they vote, they're a majority of the commission vote, and that's a violation of the.
No, but what I
think
mean
what
is
Terry's saying is that
that with
if
the-
there are
there's no
3
interest,
members of
yeah.
committee could, and
could a
then
co-chair come
could a
in?
coach come in
Or
and be
if
a permanent
There's
member,
no,
so
that
what we're
has,
saying is,
or if there's no interest, from other commissioners, it's just, I think the point of this is to divide the workload based on interests and have sufficient ability to move forward and and not, people move around so much.
Well, this is so we don't shut down.
I know, exactly,
That's the
yeah.
main reason of this. You shouldn't see this happen very often, but recognizing the possible scenarios we had occur this month with elections that we didn't anticipate, we could have easily harmed ourselves by not allowing committees to meet for 2 or 3 months.
Mhm.
And that's why this rule needs, because there's other times where the commission is transitioning or there might be resignations. There's a whole host of reasons why you need to be able to move that work forward, because losing 60 or 90 days while you argue over composition of a committee could be really harmful.
I think if we are having a point where we're having trouble getting more than 3 people on a committee, then we have an issue with people not doing work on the commission. And that to me is a bigger issue than having rules to, get the coach, because the co-chairs are really busy and, and it's already a big workload, and it's not, even if they were willing to shoulder it, it's not sustainable for, I think, our leadership and for the commission in general to when other commissioners are not stepping up and working, it's not sustainable for it to feel like the co-chairs have to step in and do that work for other commissioners. And so to me, that is more of an issue of workload and people needing to meet the expectations of their job as commissioner.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I had actually anticipated the situation because I saw with the candidates that we had that whatever 2 combination, it was going to leave some of the committees really at minimum capacity, because I think 3 is not good. Probably 5, 4 is definitely better. 5 is best for that broadness of sharing the responsibility. However, I do think that before when we think about writing these rules, we need to think about, I think we're kind of going out in a rather condemnatory fashion. I don't know why outreach, maybe it's because they haven't been able to get projects that they have worked on. And that could be, it doesn't mean that we have to dissolve outreach, because later on, obviously, that's a longer term goal. Like I see that there has to be. So I would like us to think about not using measures to force people to, if it is that we can combine temporarily, we can even do that. Like if they just want to come over and two committees can jointly meet, in a joint, we can do something like that. Again, it is a workload problem, but I would like for us to figure out why maybe certain commissioners are more enthusiastic than others. And at least just to keep this in mind when we're designing these rules, because the more punishment, probably the more we're going to push certain people into dig their heels in and into their, like, we're not going to change shift behavior that way.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we pass this language in 1.4.4. Let's make sure where we're putting it, right? So a couple of places, duties and responsibilities of co-chair are shared. There's a list of bullet points there, so it could be one of those, although it doesn't match the style of how those are written. Or it could be,
In relation to
Sample.
committees, there's that portion. In relation to committees, we have the following rules on the second
Yeah.
page.
So that was the other place we looked at.
We are always going to
I
finish.
think it makes
Yeah.
sense to have it in relation to the committee.
Yeah, so we'll add it there on page 2 in relation to the committee.
see that?
The following rules.
I see it. We'll put it as the fourth bullet point in relation to
We
committee.
got the final. So I'd like to make a motion that we pass this and place it there. Second motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Benito,
Aye.
Commissioner Wong,
I
agree, aye. So we passed a vote of 3.
this is a good, because I think actually every February we're going to run into this because we're going to have two co-chairs.
We may even
elected,
run
you know?
into it, we may even run into it when they replace half the commission, this upcoming December.
Right.
Because you could have severe continuity issues during that time period. So, that's another thing upcoming that will definitely help you keep the business moving forward during that time.
All right. So
Okay, so let's move on to 1.4.5. And there's been some revisions made to this. It didn't include all the changes that were suggested, but hopefully, we can move through this relatively quickly and see where we end up. There is one part where, Sharina, you might be very helpful. Do we have an extra copy of this? Because there's a part about the outreach committee and sort of some specifics. So it's like the third bullet or whatever, so there's some questions there. All right, so rule point 1.4.5. This is the version, you should all have it on SharePoint. I just made sure you got editing access. But we gotta be, let's have one, like, if I can just do that, might be easier rather than a lot of different editing going on. So
can we go back to the original idea of just line by line or paragraph by paragraph?
I would like to do like
Yeah.
paragraph by paragraph,
Yeah.
not line by line. So, so if that's okay with you?
We'll vote
See
on
how it
every
goes?
one.
All right, so the Police Investigations Discipline and Accountability Committee has primary oversight of the disciplinary process and the analysis of disciplinary and accountability data. It is a lead committee for preparing evidentiary hearings related to disciplinary actions, the generation of reports related to disciplinary accountability, and audits of the performance of general police orders. This committee sends recommendations to other committees where responsibilities overlap on issues related to police investigation, discipline, and accountability. Comments?
I would add outreach to the last list. Police outreach or community,
I think outreach would be under the outreach
Yeah, it's on the
committee.
outreach committee, right?
but it would overlap, right? Like, for
But-
example, like I've already offered something.
So, but no, read the sentence again.
Yeah,
It's on where responsibilities overlap on these specific issues that fall under this committee,
Primary oversight.
not just every committee.
hmm
Because this is the police investigation, discipline, and accountability committee. So those three, issues with those 3 areas.
yeah, but it would also, I mean, there could be data that comes in that goes to policy too.
So I think this is addressing what we wrote down here, which says commission work may touch multiple committees and require collaboration between committees. Each committee may always make recommendations and request to fellow committees to review or consider issue. And then we have a paragraph that talks about if there's a disagreement between the committees. And so I would say that that is where that would be addressed.
That's fine. Can we add just like a serial comma before the and? So we,
You like to ask for comment, huh?
yes, one,
And that's not very nice. Where are we? And what?
discipline and accountability. Police investigators, discipline, comma, and accountability. Yeah.
I'm a former journalist and we don't use it, that's the actual color. So.
All right, that's fine, I think.
Okay. All right, next, police training committee makes
You want to
recommendations.
vote? Can we just vote?
I don't think.
Let's
So
just,
you-
let's just
you
vote
voice
the whole
vote?
thing. I think, let's have a discussion by line, but I think voting for the whole thing would just be tricky. So, police training committee makes recommendations for and performs reviews of CDP, training topics, training practices, and training curriculums. I'm gonna put in
Police training.
division.
Recommendation. Is the word recommendations, is that what's in the chart? Oh, we didn't do that. We should look at the charter to make sure. That's the one thing we didn't do, is that are all the responsibilities
charter?
lists, yeah. Is it recommendations only in there? So we should make sure that these things align with the
They
charter.
make recommendation to the full commission.
Or
we can just say-
performance reviews.
We could say, instead of makes recommendation, we can say has primary oversight.
Okay, I just want to. Let me see. Okay.
So the police training committee has primary oversight.
Yeah.
I think I commented what oversight means. Okay, let's see.
Has primary oversight over making because what it's saying is recommendations for the training committee can say to CDP, we believe there needs to be a training on bias-free policing or different training on bias-free policing. So they can actually make, when it's together, it wouldn't really just be a recommendation. It would be just
Right,
telling
that's,
them.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, could we make a, can I make a suggestion? If we're gonna use the charter, can we just populate it in there?
Sure,
The exact
sure.
charter language? So under blah, 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 remote duties and authorities, right? Is that where it would be?
I think.
Yes.
Should respond to committees and concern, okay, fine. Regulation.
It says
But not-
auditing and verifying police officer training, having final authority over police policies, procedures, and training regimens.
Can we go through the charter and just populate it and then read that?
Yeah, I'm just
there?
reading the things in the charter that talk about training. So under duties and authorities of the commission, the first place it talks about training is establishing bias screening and training for existing police officers, having final authority over police training regimens, and auditing and verifying police officer training.
Do you have the charter? Can you just
I do
copy
have it open, it's hard for me to pop back and forth, so, if you could just read
Oh,
that.
do you want me to, or I can just paste it in?
Why don't you,
You can read it again. Okay.
read it?
Where is it? Which paragraph?
It's under duties and authorities of the commission, and it's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
There's a lot of stuff.
7. So the bias screening, I would say establishing training for existing police officers, comma, final authority over police training regimens, comma, and auditing and verifying police officer training.
Where are you writing?
Not just spelling errors, all right, I'll go ahead and look at this.
And I'm just checking to make sure there's no additional training related items.
Yeah, I was just suggesting we go through line by line and then just put them
The
in.
entire
We
charter.
will. Well,
No,
let's
just those, and then we can put it in there.
That's what I'm doing, just give me a minute.
What, is this the SharePoint? Is it being updated?
It is,
Why can't I?
you
It's
can't
not-
see it, it's
no.
1.4.5 revised V2.
Oh, B2, okay.
I just gave you access, and I hope I did the right one. One
Here,
of them.
okay, so maybe I have the wrong thing open now.
I think I
No.
already sent one.
Revised to 11/24, right?
No, this was just sent 2 days ago.
But this is the one, right? B2, right?
Yeah.
It's not updating.
Do you
Oh,
have
so it's not live.
It
All
should
right,
be,
now-
it
now
should be
it's okay.
live if he
I was
shared
just
it.
in a, it was in a, all right, so
All right, so
why don't we just,
establishes bias-free training.
I mean, I guess
how's
one,
it, like, we don't want to say that they have the authority, they just have the initial
Training
authority,
committee.
right? They have the initial,
Works with, we could say works with the division,
has primary oversight over it.
has primary responsibility
Mhm.
is the lead
Committee, yeah,
committee to work with the division to establish
Yeah.
these things and exercise final authority and audit and
Mhm,
verify,
yeah.
something like that.
I would just use their language as much as possible, the
Primary is lead committee,
primary committee, I don't know.
either same thing.
One quick question on the police investigations. Mine is, it seems like the last sentence, this committee sends recommendations to other committees, is a little redundant with the sentence at the end of all the, because you could put that sentence in for each.
Yeah, but it really is the central one that would gather from the disciplinary data, so.
I just don't see how this is any different than the sentence that says that committees make recommendation to other committees.
Okay, we'll get to that.
If
But
it-
let's,
If we want to have it be redundant, it can be redundant, but
let me just go, do you want me to start populating?
No, I'm doing it right now.
No, for the other ones. Can we start copying it
I'm
in?
sure, yeah, great. I'll work on this one.
So, serving as a final city on whether discipline.
It might cause you two to jump around if it's like Google, you can't work on
Yeah,
the
'cause
same
that might
doc
be-
at the same
you might-
time.
Okay, I'll put it in another document.
Yeah, it's good that you can just paste it in right.
yeah, I would suggest that we only have one person editing the live document.
Well, we get to, like, if you want to do a different one and then you
Mhm. No, I'm
can
gonna do
push
it
it
for
in
one.
later.
We should have
Sure.
done this, and yeah, civilian sufficient. Okay, that was fine. Okay, so there is one paragraph about decreasing discipline. Do you think we should put in that? Or is that already in related disciplinary action? So that's encompassed by that, right? Do you think, Jason? Because we don't have the retaliation clause in there about decreasing discipline.
I think I'm not in 100% agreement that you guys need to be this particular in your
Yeah.
committee.
Well, I'm just like,
It's
In
getting
your
kind of bogged
committee
down.
definitions,
Well-
like I think you're overthinking something that should be a little more abstract and fluid, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you have to align your work. So, and you all have to work together as a team. So I think the answer that was proposed last time to solve this problem was meetings with committee chairs to align the workloads, right? To make sure is this the right place at the right time.
I just don't want
No.
something like, for example, interviewing recommending candidates for police commander and inspector general to the mayor. I didn't realize, I think I read this as chief or something. I had an accountability, the inspector general thing, but we don't. So, for example, which committee should deal with that?
So if it's not the police training committee, let's talk about it later.
Well, I was gonna go through and just populate it so I can go.
You know,
right on.
I really think
I think
that
we
we're
need to
getting
focus.
way too in the weeds with this.
I disagree. I mean, in the weeds, it's in the charter.
Let Chandra speak. Okay, so here we have two options on the police training committee. The language from the revised, version 2 was establishes audits and performs reviews of Cleveland Division of Police training topics, training practices, and training curriculum, which kind of covers more as an umbrella sort of overview. The other option gets more specific using the language, and it would be something like the lead committee is a lead committee that works with Division of Police to establish bias screening and training for existing police officers, exercises the commission's final authority over police training regimens, and its authority to audit and verify police officer training. That is more of the language from,
That's fine. That's good. I think that made it.
in this case, maybe that's okay. I mean, is it
Not-
really, does anything fall through the cracks on that? Is anything not?
Do they make proposals for new training?
They can. But I
It
think
says
that's
it's there.
it's covered under and authority over training regimens. So
Okay.
if you say that this needs to be included in the training regimen.
It's
that's
authority
covered.
to audit.
So I think that there are going to be duties that are not explicitly addressed in every line of we're not going to list out every specific duty that may or may not come up on a committee. And that's why we also have the ability committees can say this, the commission can say, we think this duty falls under this committee. If there's a disagreement about that, there's a process for how the division of tasks works.
Well, I mean, I get that, and I think we're, rushing through this a little bit. My concern is something like for the bias-free training. What I've read, just in my personal interest, is that the existing kind of training regimen is not falling in line with best practices in the social sciences research about what can you do with implicit bias. So that's when, if we're going to establish something new, is that within our authority?
That's already covered. That's what
But
I'm
it's
saying,
authority
it's
to-
over training regimens. So training regimens would include, if there's something not in the training regimen, and we are saying that it needs to have it added, we still have authority over training regimens.
How about we put recommendations in? Because it says performs reviews and audits. It's not the same as giving new recommendations. Establishing audits.
Well, that's why it said making recommendations prior, but then you removed it.
Well, we just added this language. Can we just add making recommendations somewhere?
So what's the original?
Establish
language?
audits, performance, and training, and then maybe like this, making recommendations when appropriate.
Well, I don't want to put the when appropriate because who's deciding when it's appropriate? And I would just say, and making recommendations.
So the question originally was, are we only making recommendations, or, I mean, the
No, can
training
we-
committee has been doing that. I have a question for you, since you were on the training committee, like, what was that process? I know that you had made recommendations. Is that the process, or?
So we have not at this point yet suggested a training that they are not already doing and asked them to do it. Right now, the process is more of a kind of collaborative review process. However, there has been conversation about on the committee that if there were to be, for example, a trend that showed up on the accountability committee, that there's an issue that is not addressed in their current training, at that point, we could go to them and say, we believe there needs to be a training on this topic, and then we would work with the training division to develop it. So I do believe that the commission has the authority to say there needs
So
to
this
be
is what-
training, yeah.
Right, so Terry, you're suggesting we're just gonna put all that in there? Just
Making
to
recommendations.
include the section 115.5.
Not all of it, but it's just.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
well, all of what I had just.
Yeah, I
added.
think that's fine. I think that gives much more substance to the training committee. Okay,
Okay. All right.
I just added that one line and making 4 changes.
Can you read it?
Yeah, so the first line reads, Police Training Committee establishes audits and performs reviews of Cleveland Division of Police training topics, training practices, and training curriculum. That's in the charter, hyphen, or like M dash, and making recommendations for changes to training. Okay, to police training. Okay,
Well, it's the police training.
this is the lead committee. Then it just says, this is the lead committee that works with the Division of Police to establish bias screening and training for existing police officers, exercises the commission's final authority over police training regimens, and its authority to audit and verify police officer training.
Something like that.
Yeah, because those two are together, right?
So
Exercises.
to establish bias, yeah, to establish and then exercises is the next one. Exercises authority.
Like that.
Oh, okay.
That looks good.
Cool. All right. So we're good with that? Police Policy Committee leads interaction and communication with the Cleveland Division of Police on matters related to the Commission's final authority. Police Policy Committee leads interaction and communication with the Cleveland Division of Police on matters related to the Commission's final authority over police policy and procedure. This includes working with representatives of the division to draft, revise, and improve general police orders and policy-based focused divisional notices that fall under the scope of the commission.
Okay, so from the charter, there is having final authority over,
Having final authority over establishing the policies, applications, and examinations. I think that part is missing, is who is going to deal with the hiring type of thing, policies, right? Is that probably under policy too? By which new police recruits must be sought out and recruited and screened, including screening for bias. So there we have the touch point. But it's a screening policy, right? And then it has final authority over police policies, procedures, and training regimens. So that's already training regimen goes there. Okay. Directly. Oh, then it says proposing and advocating for legislation or regulations to council, the state of Ohio, and other legislative and regulatory authorities, and offering views on the city's mayors, chief of police, and department of safety's legislative agendas, and consistent with the purposes of this section. Obviously, that could be done by the whole commission, but how do you feel as the policy committees will be the lead, right? And then there's the outreach, meeting disenfranchised. That's outreach. That's accountability. Okay, then fine. Records request. Okay, and then it says reviewing policy data and records to advise the mayor, the director of public safety, the chief, the council director of law, OPS, and CPO, and others on, that's policing issues, including. So that would probably be accountability related to community relations. Okay, so that's a data thing.
Everything.
Periodically publishing, that's all of us. Audits, investments, accountability, identifying for accountability. I think accountability needs to be revised according to this. Accessing, engaging legal services, eliciting public comment on public police policy issues is one other thing.
I think that would fall under outreach.
Great, okay. From policy. Like together.
Would touch it, yeah.
Collaboration.
Yeah. Adopting and amending rules. Commission's review. That's just rules. Exercising with all the other duties. Okay, that's basically it. Do you see anything that you want to include in policy?
You could say, including duties related to recruitment. If you like.
Recruitment and hiring, or policies recruited.
I mean, I just had
I think it's above too. There was one on policy. Isn't there another line that says? Where was that?
All right.
Oh, it's the first one.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's go. We good with that?
Yeah.
All right. The outreach committee. So here's where, Sharina, if you could look at the questions were around like specifying how the committee researches, and then, you know, around community engagement, really defining what that means. So I think those were the only questions that came up in the last meeting.
So I would say that we basically take an assessment of the information that we collect through community surveys and meetings, town halls, focus groups, interviews, to assess people's, we do this to kind of gauge people's perception of CPD and their confidence of the police department, to develop high-level goals for community engagement, and through that the tools we use are the community surveys, our outreach plan, and our community engagement, and community confidence assessment.
One thing is the language in the charter here is that I think that sounds good, and also the language in the charter is pretty good on this. Engaging in community outreach to obtain a perspective of community members, police organizations, and division of police employees on police community relations, and all the other things, the police policies, practices, police accountability system, and then also maintaining connection and collaboration with representatives from disenfranchised communities and with other community groups throughout the city, the Community Relations Board, police district committees, and similarly arranged councils.
Yeah, I think that the take-home point is that it's more than just outreach to the community. It's outreach to the other police entities, obviously, and to specifically certain communities that are disenfranchised. Yes.
To the chair, the outreach committee in the framework also has assessment ability of the Cleveland Division of Police's engagement activities. So I think that's an important aspect of this is under the consent decree, we have a mandate in one of the paragraphs to assess CDP's community engagement. So this would also cover us looking at their programs in community engagement and community and problem-oriented policing. And then they've even had a discussion about adding a work group on including CDP's recruitment, because that doesn't fall neatly in any one of these other categories, but we also have final say on recruitment policies, testing. So those are two things to be open to considering adding to outreach, that it's not just developing the commission's outreach plans, but also assessing the division's outreach plans and inclusive of recruitment.
So we can say that they're, because they are the kind of the bridge from the commission, bridge from the commission to all these entities, maybe define a little bit like visually. And I think, it's not like, I know it seems onerous to put the charter language in, but I think it will help the other commissioners know what to, and the closer we get to that statutory language. Do we want to, because this is kind of like row activities, did you want to move on to another section and do come back to this and when we populate it later on with the charter? Or?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
So I added some language there. Researches, community outreach committee researches through community surveys, meetings, and focus groups, and establishes high-level goals and objectives for community engagement with the goal of obtaining the perspectives of community members, police organizations, division of police employees on police community relations, police policies and practices, the police accountability system, and other matters consistent with the purposes of, I don't have to say purposes of, with Charter Section 125.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's maintaining connection and collaboration, disenfranchised communities. We could community groups.
The outreach committee will pay a particular focus to historically disenfranchised or marginalized groups. So we just put a new sentence in. On police community relations. Can I put CPOP there? Just in parentheses?
Sure.
So we know.
Sure.
Okay, is this this is a Microsoft problem? They
What?
can't edit. Google seems to be better at it.
What? He's not
That
refreshing.
two people can't
It
edit.
seems you're working. I'm doing it and you're doing it.
Okay, sounds good,
It
thank you.
advances me. It seems to be okay.
All right.
We also talked about recruitment.
Recruitment needs to be, okay. Are you, you're gonna do marketing, right? Are you gonna comment
Well,
on marketing?
To some degree.
What's that?
I said to some degree, but I don't think it's like us necessarily marketing. We're just like assessing
Their marketing
yeah.
strategies. Well, it's fine. I mean, I think the only worry there, I'm sure we have a shared goal there. So, but the only thing is if they say something that would be against the consent decree or, constitutional policing. Jim Shore has reminded me that I think the age is now 50 or something.
Right.
They've asked, I think,
They're up
at
to
least
age-
half the commission
to
can,
55, I think, isn't it, or 50, I don't know. Something like that.
maybe 2/3 of the commission can apply as academy members. That might be fun. Although
all
it's a
right,
10-minute
so
mile.
where would recruitment go in there?
But police policy would have the policy aspect of recruitment, right? Or is that an
Could be
overlapping?
collaboration, overlap, yeah.
As long as the hiring and recruitment is somewhere, I think, because that was pretty important to
Okay.
Mr. Chura.
All right, we good to move on? Budget and grants?
Yep.
Budget and Grants Committee leads work with the executive director and other commissioners as needed to develop the commission's annual budget and helps present budgetary needs to the city administration and city council. This committee will also lead the work to distribute grants to the community as described in the city charter. Could say in section 115.5.
What does it say about grants? It says one thing about grants, right?
We don't need, yeah, I think.
Yeah,
we
making
say
grants
as
to community,
described in charter section 115.5, so I don't think we need to add all the details.
okay. Because it just has the 3 criteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rules Committee leads the establishment, review, and revision of the commission's internal bylaw, rules and bylaws.
And procedures. Well,
Rules.
bylaws and procedures, I think.
Oh, there you do. Okay. I guess rules and procedures are the same thing.
Rules are- Because it's in our, that's what our manual's calling.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, we good?
Yeah. Do you want?
Do you want something
break from
about,
reading?
I don't care.
Okay, you good.
I
internal
wanted to,
training- what?
but I think I saw some things that were in accountability, but we can do it later, because I don't think we're gonna finish this drafting. I can just populate it later.
Accountability again.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Right.
not, I mean, I didn't look at the chart.
The Internal Training Committee works with staff and external experts to provide training to commissioners. This includes ongoing training for commissioners already serving, as well as new members joining the commission. I don't know what you do. All right, we good?
Yeah.
Commission work may touch multiple committees and require collaboration between committees. Each committee may always make recommendations and requests to fellow committees to review or consider issues or other committees rather than fellow committees. I don't know.
Sure.
We're personifying committee. Committees are not people.
Is that good?
Committees are not people.
Yeah.
To other committees to review or consider issues.
To consider,
Is it redundant? Yeah.
Just say review or consider.
If there's a disagreement between committee chairs or
Yeah.
committee members, if there's a disagreement between committee chairs or committee members about the division of tasks between committees that cannot be worked out between the committee chairs, then the issue can be addressed in a meeting with the commission co-chairs and the committee chairs or meeting of the full commission. Should we just capitalize all that so it's easier to read?
Well, we haven't been capitalized committee chair.
Okay.
but whatever. Or committee.
Commission co-chairs is capitalized though, right?
Yeah, I don't know, we're being a little bit random about some of
I
it.
don't know.
Commissioners, commission, co-chairs, that's capitalized.
All right. The commission may, oh,
Sean,
Sure.
let's go around.
The commission may establish ad hoc committees to address or resolve specific issues as need arises. These committees are by definition temporary in nature and are dissolved once they have completed their assigned duties.
do we have a number for the ad hoc committee? Number of membership?
I think the
Still
general
same.
committee rules stand.
3 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see my other. What did I say?
Anything on that one?
Hold on.
If you are concerned, one thing we could do is we could add all committees in the paragraph two down, that those committees must consist of at least 3, the same way we addressed it in the other one.
Sure. Do that. All right, anything about ad hoc committees we want to change?
Good to me.
Okay, Commissioner,
Are they dissolved by motion? Or we just,
we almost understand,
I
yeah.
think it says that once they've completed their assigned duties, then it would dissolve. Do you want it to be resolved by motion?
well, I mean, some can, I'm just thinking we had a historical battle, like what is it? you know, to,
Well, so I think
to
with the
disband.
example of the, your ad hoc committee with Mark Wallach, once the contract was executed and then it's dissolved.
Well, then the city wrote into their contract that it was a mistake. The three that were in the committee would be the point people constantly for Mr. Welks. And that,
Right, but I mean, once he's submitted his work and it's all finished, then at that point, the committee would dissolve. So in that situation, would you want it then? I feel like it might be a little burdensome to then say, let's go to the full commission, say, okay, this work is completed. Do we vote to dissolve the committee?
yeah.
Because also then
Mhm.
if they would say no, we say, no, we're not going to dissolve this committee, but then there's no work to do. It doesn't really make sense.
We could
that-
change the language to say that existing committees are dissolved if they're no longer needed. So it's like that automatically happens as opposed to the commission may. That suggests that they would keep them going if their work is done. So maybe it should
Or
be
just they
existing
could,
existing committees are dissolved when they are no longer needed to conduct the business of the commission. That might be clear language. And if somebody says, actually, no, I think this needs to continue, then
Yeah.
then that's a different story.
yeah, for example, the committee for the contracts could be an ongoing, depending on conflicts of interest. You probably want the people that are most familiar with the negotiation. So it could go on hiatus.
But that would,
Yeah.
but I think that at that point, the stated, you would,
We'll have to make a new
you would have to
motion.
make a new motion, yeah.
So we can, and then some people may not want to do it anymore. So same
So,
thing.
all right, so
right,
existing
whatever.
committees are dissolved when they are no longer needed to conduct the business of the commission.
Yeah.
Moving on, Terry, you want to read this one?
Where is it?
All
Okay.
committees must consist of at least 3 commission members.
Oh, no, we haven't.
No, we have another. The
We have-
commission may form other
Oh, sorry.
committees. The
Yes.
commission may form other committees when new, previously unaddressed, longer-term issues arise that cannot be addressed, cannot be addressed or resolved by existing committees or ad hoc committees. Existing committees are dissolved when they are no longer needed to conduct the business of the commission. Unless they're standing committees or dissolved or merged, maybe?
Restructure,
Restructure.
structure,
What's another word?
Reconfigured.
reconfigure it.
Yeah, restructure means like internally. Okay. They form when new, previously unaddressed, longer-term issues arise that cannot be, whose duties cannot be, maybe more clear, whose duties cannot be taken up by existing committees or ad hoc committees.
Say that again?
Like, it's not issues that arise that cannot be addressed, issues that arise that cannot, whose duties
That are not? or
that are
can-
not,
Hey, I'd
that-
say are not instead of cannot.
that
Oh,
are not,
yeah, I
No,
kind of
it's-
like cannot because they're,
cannot be, it is addressed, but it's not issues, right? It's the duties. It's like the issue could be this, but
right, because I
Cannot
feel
be-
like an
whose
issue would
duties?
be ad hoc,
yeah,
whereas duties would be more permanent.
Well,
longer term
term issues, it says, so,
rise that cannot be assigned, maybe,
or longer term needs that cannot be assigned.
rather
Yeah,
than addressed,
assigned.
assigned.
Appropriately
I
be
like
assigned. How about that?
So many adverbs.
I know, right? Just get us to existing or ad hoc committees.
To existing committee, yeah. Okay, existing or ad hoc committees.
Can you read it as it stands?
Yeah. That the commission may form other committees when new, previously unaddressed, longer-term issues arise that cannot appropriately be, just say longer term, right? When new, longer-term issues, you need previously unaddressed. It's new, it says new.
Right,
So new, can we take out previously
yeah,
unaddressed?
yeah.
Okay, so the commission may form other committees when new, longer-term issues arise that cannot appropriately be assigned to existing or ad hoc committees.
Can we get rid of appropriately?
Sure.
I don't feel like that's adding anything.
Oh,
That when
Sorry,
new,
Pete.
longer-term issues arise, whose duties cannot be assigned. It's not that the issues that can't be assigned, right? It's the duties.
so issues whose duties, I mean, that,
Issues, longer-term issues when
issues don't have duties, so.
okay, yeah, exactly. May form when new longer form issues arise And
Penalty.
the associated duties cannot be
Sure.
I think it's already that.
cannot be assigned to existing. Okay.
As long as it's understandable, it's okay.
Yep.
It's a little wordy.
That works.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Committees must consist, that's right, okay, yeah. Committees must consist of at least 3 commission members, but not more than 5. Only commission members officially recognized as members of a committee are eligible to vote on committee matters. Commission co-chairs may not vote on the committee level unless there are fewer than 5 commissioners on the committee, in which case one or both, it would be fewer than 3 committees.
Only community officially recognized.
3 commissioners on the committee, in which case one
Yeah,
or both.
this has to change a little bit.
Okay.
Because
Can we
Yeah.
just, yeah, do.
Okay, sorry, I'll just
read the whole-
finish reading what it says. Commission co-chairs may not vote at the committee level unless there are fewer than 5 commissioners on the committee, in which case one or both co-chairs may participate and vote, provided there are no more than 5 commissioners voting.
We're
Okay,
taking all
so
that out,
then we'll
right?
just adjust
Yeah.
this to what we just approved for 1.4. Unless,
Because
They become official members of the committee.
oh,
for
I think
example.
that the fact that it says officially recognized, only commission members officially recognized as members, I think that covers it.
Mhm.
Because once we go into that process where the co-chairs
Yeah.
are
Please.
assigned, they're officially recognized.
Why don't you say, please see,
they participate
Yeah,
as
sure.
outlined in
Please, so, 'cause,
1.4.
yeah.
Yeah,
please see paragraph blah, blah, I don't know.
yeah, I think that sounds good.
As voting members, right? As an exception, how about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it says officially, oh, I see what you're saying. Officially recognized as voting members,
Yeah, that's good.
because they're recognized as ex officio. Sure.
All right, good. That was easy. Each February, after you
Are you gonna
rush.
extend?
What?
It's 4:28.
Yeah, okay, let's extend 15 minutes till 4:45 and see where we are. I was being overly optimistic, obviously, with my 4:30.
Do you want to give room for a couple comments?
I do not particularly know.
I don't-
unless-
Do we need to extend?
I don't think we need to.
I
Yeah,
just
I
have to, I have another meeting at 6. I have to go get dinner, so.
Yeah. I like, can we do, you want to extend or no? We don't have to.
Well, we're
have
not at
to-
the
we're not
point of
the-
needing to extend the
Well,
meeting
the
yet.
the agenda I put 4:30.
You know, he should.
Oh,
I was being optimistic, as I said.
yeah, that was a bold move.
I
Okay.
was.
Yeah, I would vote to extend to 5.
Let's shoot for 4:45 and see where we are,
Okay.
and we can extend
Yep,
again.
that's fine with me.
All right. Each February, after the election of commission coaches, I have to be somewhere too, so.
I
um,
really.
Each
I was
February,
looking, I was like, yay, 4:30.
Right. Each February, after the election of commission co-chairs, each committee shall elect a chair by majority vote. The individual commissioner may serve multiple terms of chair with no term limits. The chair should be capitalized.
Instead of, I mean, this is silly, but instead of
Committee
an
chair.
individual commissioner, can we just say commissioners may serve?
The chair may serve multiple
Yeah,
terms.
sure,
so
yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
The committee chair, so it's not
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so this is my concern about, and there's no other way to do it. I mean, we could stagger the election because I feel there's a lot of emotions right after a co-chair vote, and everyone's just, so for stability, I don't know, it's not for personal interest, but for stability, maybe, because the new members come in, they have no experience with that chair, so they could
But I
just
think
vote
people,
again.
even if they're new to I wouldn't say that people on the commission have no experience with the chair, because the chairs report out to the full commission during the meetings. They're, they're interacting with that commissioner. I mean, so are you saying that you would like it to be later than February?
Staggered for the power, kind of, it's just because
Do
everybody
you mean every committee staggered, or are you saying staggered a little further out?
stagger, like, unless the chair, it becomes the co-chair, then you have to elect.
I don't
think-
quite
yeah.
understand. Staggered,
So,
So it's
Mean-
offset, meaning that's not, because I think there was a lot of, I think there's always a lot of motions when there is a change, a shift in.
so you're suggesting
yeah,
like April or March?
yeah, something
or,
like that.
Which fine. Yeah.
So the person can have some experience also, the new members.
I just
ahead.
want to point out, it doesn't, so you have a gap here. So
Yeah.
if we do this right after the chair election, you may be
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have
making
the
a
right.
vote when you don't even
Have
have a full
full
committee,
committee, yes,
right?
you
So
have to
just keep
stagger.
that in mind. If you lose 2 people off a committee, like some of these committees did, and it was a 4-person or a 5-person
You have
committee,
to.
Yeah.
now you're asking them to vote a chair in without a full committee.
Yeah.
So you
How
may,
about-
you-
How
April?
about as soon as practicable after the, or no, we have to do something. I don't want to like
You don't want to say.
formalize staggering. I just like,
I would just
When-
say April or March and just name.
No, I think you should say,
I'm not sure.
I think you should say when the committee's
next
reseat
fully-
is as fully reseated as possible, that it's operational.
Yeah, I
that you
think we
can
need to
vote.
give ourselves some flexibility.
Yeah.
Just like,
But I think the staggering is good because I think when people change, inspires a lot of emotions. And I think it would give the chance to the new commissioners that are on to, they can always, I mean, you can decide to remove the chair at any point through a motion. So I think staggering, just to also provide some stability.
So by
because you have a
staggering, are you
change
just saying not putting in a specific date and that in turn staggers it, or are you suggesting
later.
one committee, one time?
Oh, no,
another
no, no, no.
committee?
All the committees will decide I think they should decide after the committee is
Right,
fully
but-
seated again.
It sounded like both of you said you didn't want to give a month, but you're saying later. So are you
I-
wanting to
no.
give a month?
I don't know. I just
Or
said
just
as
say
soon
April.
as committees are fully seated.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
want to
was
say a
saying.
month.
I thought April made sense.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm just gonna be very blunt. There could be, you want to decrease any power plays after the co-chairs are elected. I think it should be for just cause, and two, let the emotions cool down a little bit. And there's no reason unless if the chair is doing something wrong, then remove them. You can always remove them by motion. So
We're
there's
getting
no
to a
room to
different point.
rush.
We're getting to a different point. We're
I'm
not
just
on
saying
the
offset.
removal
I'm saying like,
piece.
but that's the thing. You're voting for a new chair. It could be a removal. So I say April, May. There's no real. And
I guess
and
one question is, when does the budget process finish?
April.
So I think that would be one thing, is having, because then if we change the
the
leadership
budget.
of the budget, so maybe just so it finishes in April, so maybe May.
Mhm.
That way then.
I mean, we should, unless there's just cause and reason, you should maintain some leadership and subject matter expertise
No,
on the committees.
the election happens every year. You don't have to give just cause to hold a new election. We're saying that the
But the
election happens every
co-chairs,
year.
Their knowledge is different. Like if Mr. Van Leer was, all of his knowledge would go. He wouldn't be able to steer because I think that the committee chairs, their primary responsibility outside of administrative issues is to steer the committee's vision. So it is especially when the
So then-
initial
no, but-
co-chairs wrote
Okay.
the 18-month plan, that was an 18-month plan. Now it's suddenly we're changing every single
So do
year.
you think that the co-chair there should only be a co-chair election if we are voting to remove the co-chairs for just cause?
No, but you can always do the just cause with the committee chairs at any point. And I
You
think the
can also
co-chairs
do
could be
that at any
reelected.
point with the co-chairs.
So
Right, but it's just, I
So-
think you need some stability. So since you don't have to have,
let's talk through a little bit. So like, we agree that after the election of commission co-chairs, they should elect a co-chair, elect a chair, committee chair by majority vote. So that's good. We just got to figure out a timeline. Committee chair may serve multiple terms as a chair. There's no term limit. So the rest of this is good. We just need to figure out what is that timeline.
I
So
think May.
okay, so it has to
I
be
feel
after.
like, okay, hold on. I'm still speaking.
Sorry.
So, I guess I don't have I mean, if that's what you all think, if you want to do a particular month, but I feel like there are going to be situations where we need some flexibility, and I'd hate to say it only happens in May, as opposed to like, let's say there's a committee that, maybe they lost there's 5 members of the committee. One of their people went and became co-chair. Those 4 members in February can elect a new chair. Why not?
Yeah.
So why do we have to say May? Why don't we say between February and May, or between the January election of commission co-chairs and May, each committee shall elect a chair.
What if it's no later than May?
No later than May. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it should be when they're,
They need that stability piece as
Yeah.
well.
What do you mean?
Like, so,
Yeah.
so yeah, they just need that. Her issue wasn't really like the timeline was as much as the stability of the committee.
Right. But I'm just saying, let's
So like in
get
that scenario before was good, but what if it's one that only has
Yeah.
like 2 or 3?
right.
Then that's
That's
not.
fine. So then they
not
can
as
wait.
stable. Yeah.
Mhm.
They
So
don't
that
have
needs
to
to
do
be
it. But
in
if they
there.
feel like if there's a three people, they say, yeah, we're good, we can do this, or 4, 5, whatever. I just feel like we don't want to. I don't know. I just feel like unless we just say, okay, everything happens in May, no matter what. But what about if there's no chair? You know, it's like you gotta let them do it as soon as they can, right? So-
Well, I don't think that saying that if they have to have a chair. So even if, let's say like for training committee, that John became the chair, even if there's a chair that's held, even if there's election that's held in May, you would still have to vote because the committee has to have a chair.
Yeah.
So I think that even in that situation, you would vote on a chair, and then if we were to go with the option of choosing a date like May, then they would just re-vote in May. And that way, then if the new committee members came on, then they would get to have a say in the election. But I'm
fine with it.
I feel fine with by May, and no later than May, or saying May. I'm fine with either option.
So you know what? I don't really care much. The language I put in here right now is after the general election, commission co-chairs, but no later than May. Or we could just say, in May, each committee shall elect a chair by majority vote.
To elect or re-elect.
Elect or re-elect.
A new
And,
chair by majority.
If there is, we could also put in language that, if there is no chair due to a resignation or a vacancy, then they have to elect a
Immediate
chair whenever.
Or they become co-chair, so they have to do it immediately, because someone has to be chair pro tem or whatever,
Yeah.
right? If they became co-chair, that's the other scenario. I just want to clarify, my concern is that the election of the co-chairs, because they're ex officio, causes a lot of disruption to the dynamics and the seating of all the committees. Just by natural kind of consequence, we had it this time. We have like a ready-made scenario for us to see. I think that you want stability, even when you have that churn with the co-chairs, but the committees are a little bit different. You want some type of stability, and you don't want churn all the time. So what I would say is that I think it should occur after the committee is reseated fully and there's sufficient time to assess the new chair. I don't think that, because that decreases political kind of maneuverings.
I think the issue with reseated fully is that
Reseated as full,
no, I know.
yeah.
I'm just saying that people that assumes that there's only one window that people are entering and leaving committees.
Mhm.
So if you say reseated fully,
Or just after they're reseated, after the co-chairs. So everything has to be reconfigured after the co-chairs. Unless the two co-chairs came from committees that were either not on committees or came from committees that still had quorum or still had the minimum.
yeah, I just think we're really getting
This
into
is
minute
what-
details with this, and I think that by saying we're gonna have an election in May, then
Maybe, yeah, I agree that might be enough. I mean, the primary consideration is I don't think people should be able to move around from committees and steer votes, remove the chair, do whatever it is, because it's not about anybody having power. That's very, very disruptive to committees work. For example, what if we were in the middle of a major policy advancement or an investigation? You don't want to remove the chair at that point. Because it is.
I don't think we should be prescribing when or
But that's an actual real scenario.
I know I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's not, but what I'm saying is that we have a process for how chairs are removed. I don't think we want to put restrictions on when they can be. You're talking about a removal process as opposed.
But that's a vote process too, potentially. It's the same thing.
So this is-
No, it's
this
not
is
the
a-
same thing.
It's by May on it, but you keep by May.
Okay. So
By
what I
May.
have right now is in May, each committee shall elect a chair by majority vote. If a committee loses a chair due to resignation or vacancy, the committee shall elect a chair as soon as practicable. The committee
about-
chair may serve,
right.
multiple terms as chair with no term limits, and you're saying maybe by May.
Yeah, you said that earlier.
I said that earlier, I'm fine with
Losing the
either.
chair due to vacancy. Could we have something like every attempt should be made to seat to vote after like a committee is reseated? I think that's the element that's missing.
But the committees aren't unseated and reseated.
They are if it, in this
If
scenario.
there's
they were.
but there are a number of times when a committee may have people who move, And because we're not saying that you may only leave or join committees at this particular time of the year. And so by saying, well, they need to be reseated, well, are we considering reseating any time somebody moves? And so then you're saying you don't want them to have an election at that time or they can't vote?
No, I'm just saying after the co-chair election. And that's the thing I'm like really pushing against is that there is a procedure in Robert's rules. There's reasons that there's barriers for resignation and for appointments because you don't want people shuffling around a lot. It's not because to impede their free movement, but that's very disruptive to committee work. So I don't know okay, maybe we're not going to finish this, right, by 5. So can we look into Robert rules and see what this is?
I looked at it. I didn't bring my copy
Okay.
with me. Unfortunately.
What did it say?
It didn't it said nothing that felt like it had to be in there. I'll be real honest. I looked at it. I looked through those 5 things. And it felt like
Okay,
there was nothing that really.
can we maybe put a bookmark in this and then think about it? Because I think we're not going to get anything.
So, I mean, I do think
Further.
one thing we need to consider is, we had this meeting today because we thought that this rule needed to be
Yeah.
passed for our next.
We have like 5 more paragraphs. You want to pass all this?
I'm
in
not
15?
saying that. What I'm saying is, what I wanted to address is what
Oh,
do
this
we need
issue,
to-
this issue. I get it.
No, what I'm saying is for going into our February meeting without this rule, because I think what we were thinking was that, okay, this rule will address how people enter and leave committees. And, you've raised an issue that, people have been leaving and joining committees and that issue hadn't been raised before. And so now, I mean, I think we should make it clear to commissioners. I don't know. I think it's a shame that we weren't able to get through this, but I mean, I don't know what needs to happen, what needs to be drafted in order to address, because we have a committee issue right now.
To the chair, the committee issues being discussed with the leadership. So regardless if this rule was, it's great if this rule can move forward, but it still won't be in effect
Right.
For 2 months.
for that, because there's that passage window, right?
That's true.
And you guys may want to consider in the future, you talked about long-term plan, looking at that passage issue and shortening it, because 45 days is a long time. But
How about this?
the plan that is proposed at the moment, to be transparent, is accepting all resignations and then reconstituting committees via motion anyway. So regardless if this rule stands, that will stand as an
Okay.
action. So it should fix the problem of these committees. And we also have now a stopgap that 1.44
Yeah.
passed. If it passes
In commission.
in commission, then if we lose someone between now and then, we will have a way to solve that problem too.
Okay,
So
great,
so there's a
Then that
couple of
addresses my
different,
concern.
there's a plan A, a plan
Great.
B, and a plan C.
great.
So-
So that addresses my concern. So good job, co-chairs and.
Okay. So can we finish this one section or do we need?
Yeah, let's finish this one section.
In May or by May, each committee shall elect a chair by majority vote. If the committee loses a chair due to resignation or vacancy, the committee shall elect a chair as soon as practicable. The committee chair may serve.
Practical.
Practical. No, practicable. It's a word, and it's the right word. The committee chair may serve multiple terms as chair with no term limits.
I think that sounds good to me.
In or by, what are we saying?
I think in.
Let's just do
I
N.
think it just makes it easier. What do you think?
Yeah, just do N.
I will go with that. All right, so we've gotten this far. We are not going to probably finish in 15 minutes, but we've approved everything so
We made
far. So
progress.
good comment.
I will,
Do we want to meet again before the next rules committee meeting or just stick with the next one would be the first Wednesday of March?
probably, there's a lot of meetings.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Yeah.
waiting until the first Wednesday of March.
Let's spend some time looking at it. And then we can, in March, I think we should look at, well, we don't have to talk about the Robert's Rules thing here. I think that's something we could also deal with. And it's just the idea is, that doesn't have to be dealt with here. I think we can talk about that in the full commission or with leadership or whatever. And we should be looking at that draft accountability process and the other discussions you wanted to raise. So if there are no further comments, let's adjourn. Good?
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we are
Thank you.
totally adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you for the lemon bars and
Yeah, they were-
delicious.
I would have eaten more.